Building SwiftUI apps without a proper design system is like building a house without blueprints. You start with color.blue in one view, hex color in another, and before you know it, you are hunting down hard-coded values across 47 different files just to change one shade of blue. Today, we are building a complete SwiftUI design system from scratch. We'll discover design tokens, reusable components, theming patterns, and the architecture that scales with your app instead of fighting against it. By the end, you will have a system that makes your code cleaner, your bugs easier to fix, and your team more productive. Let's start with the DNA of any design system: design tokens. These are your colors, typography, spacing, and corner radii, the basic building blocks that every component will inherit from. Here's where most people mess up. They create a massive constants.swift file with hundreds of static values, then wonder why their design system feels rigid and impossible to maintain. Don't do that. Instead, we'll use SwiftUI's environment system to make our tokens dynamic and context aware. But first, let's talk organization. There are a few different ways to organize your design system, depending on how reusable you want it to be. First, if you're building something you plan to reuse across projects, the best option is to put everything in a Swift package. It keeps your design code isolated and easy to import anywhere. If you're working on a smaller app or a one-off project, it's totally fine to just organize things inside your app target using folders. For colors, you'll want to use Xcode's asset catalog. That way, you get dark mode support out of the box with no extra logic. And finally, to make your design tokens accessible from anywhere in your app, we'll use an environment-based pattern. It's clean, scalable, and plays well with your Swift UI. For this guide, I'll show the Swift package approach, but if you're keeping everything in your main app, just replace the value of bundle with .main, or you can remove the bundle parameter itself. First up, colors. And no, I don't mean creating 50 different shades of blue with names like primary blue light and primary blue darker. That's a recipe for madness. Notice we are using semantic names: primary, surface, on primary, instead of specific colors. This is crucial because when you want to change your brand color, you're not hunting down every instance of blue in your code base. The prefix on tells you what color works on that surface. So on primary is the text color that's readable on your primary background color. Here's the secret to effortless dark mode support. Use Xcode's color sets in your asset catalog. This gives you automatic light and dark mode support without any extra code. In your asset catalog, right click, then select new color set, name it primary. Next, you can set colors in the right placeholders. Swift UI automatically picks the right color based on the current appearance. No environment values, no theme protocols, no complex switching logic. This is the power of leveraging the platform instead of fighting it. Typography is where things get interesting. SwiftUI's dynamic type is powerful, but you need to set it up right from the beginning. This approach uses built-in text styles that automatically support dynamic type. When users change their text size in settings, your app adapts without any extra work. It works immediately, follows Apple's typography guidelines, and is easily testable. Now for spacing, probably the most underrated part of any design system. Consistent spacing is what makes your app feel polished instead of thrown together. This mathematical approach isn't just for show. It creates visual rhythm. Everything aligns nicely because all your spacing values are multiples of the same base unit. It's like having a grid system for your entire app. Having these tokens is great, but they are useless if they are not easy to use. Let's create an environment-based system that makes these values accessible throughout your app. Now here's the cool part. You can access all your design tokens from any view using the environment. Tokens don't need to be passed around. They are easy to use and they are easy to modify. This is the foundation that makes everything else possible. Now let's build something real. We'll start with buttons because they are everywhere and they are usually the first thing that gets inconsistent in a project. The built-in button view is pretty basic. For a proper design system, we need something more flexible that handles different styles, sizes, and states. But before we build the button, let's talk about what it actually needs to support. We want multiple styles like primary, secondary, destructive, and ghost. Each one should look different but still follow the same structure. We also need different sizes, small, medium, and large. So we can use the button in different contexts like toolbars or full width actions. It should support loading states. So if something's in progress, we can show a spinner instead of the label. It also needs to be accessible. Screen readers should describe it properly and it should work well with voiceover. And finally, it has to support dynamic type so the text size responds to the user's system settings automatically. Notice how we are using enums for style and size. This gives us type safety and makes the API clean and discoverable. You can't accidentally pass an invalid style. Now for the view implementation, the loading state is handled nicely. We show a progress view, disable the button, and reduce opacity. This gives clear feedback to users that something is happening. I could put all the styling logic in line, but that would make this view massive and hard to maintain. Instead, let's use extension and computed properties to keep things organized. Notice how we are using our design tokens throughout. The colors come from DS colors, the spacing from DS spacing, and the typography from DS typography. This ensures consistency across all our components. But we are missing something important: accessibility. SwiftUI makes this easy, but you have to remember to add it. The accessibility additions are small but important. Screen readers announces the button title, indicates when it is loading, and properly identifies it as a button or disabled element. Now let's see a button in action. Pretty clean, right? One component, multiple styles, consistent behavior across your entire app. This is the power of a well-designed component system. Now that we have our foundation, let's talk about the bigger picture. A design system isn't just a collection of colors and fonts, it's a systematic approach to building consistent interfaces. When you are thinking about design system architecture, there are a few key principles to get right. The first is composition over configuration. Instead of building super specific components with tons of flags and booleans, you build small building blocks that can be combined together. Next, aim for consistent APIs. That means every component should follow the same naming and structure. So if one uses a size property, the other should too. It keeps the system predictable and easy to learn. The key insight here is that design systems work best when they follow clear architectural patterns. Instead of creating 50 different button styles, you create one flexible button system that can express 50 different styles through configuration. Let's think of it this way. Instead of creating specialized components for every use case, build base components that compose well together. A card component should not have built-in button styles. It should work seamlessly with your button system. See how the card uses the button component instead of having its own button styling. This keeps everything consistent and reduces the amount of code you need to maintain. All your components should follow similar patterns for props, styling, and behavior. If your button uses a size prop, your text input should too. This reduces cognitive load and makes the system easier to adopt. Notice the consistent naming style, size, and similar initialization patterns. This makes it easier to learn one component and immediately understand how to use others. Let's talk about how to actually roll out your design system without breaking your app or your team. Start small but think big. Don't try to convert everything at once. That's a recipe for burnout. Pick just one feature or screen to convert first. Something small and safe, maybe a setting screen or a secondary flow. Next, create migration helpers, things like mapping old constants to new tokens. That way you can support both styles while you transition. Make adoption easy. Add code snippets in Xcode, offer defaults, and build flexible components your team wants to use. And last, document everything with examples. Show how to use each component clearly, write in the code or in a shared guide. It will save everyone's time and questions later. Let's look at start small, think big. Pick one feature or screen to convert first, something visible but not mission critical. Maybe a setting screen or a secondary flow. This gives you a chance to work out the kinks without breaking your main user journey. The difference? The second version is not only cleaner, but it actually adapts to dark mode, scales with dynamic type, and follows your established visual hierarchy. For existing apps, you don't need to rewrite everything. Create a migration strategy that lets old and new coexist. This lets you gradually replace old styling without breaking existing screens. You can convert one screen at a time without affecting the rest of your app. Here's the reality. Even the best design system is useless if your team doesn't use it. Make adoption as easy as possible. Create Xcode code snippets for common patterns. Document with example right in your code. Good documentation reduces friction. When developers can see how to use a component right in their IDE, they are more likely to use it correctly. Once your design system is in place, how do you know it's actually working? Start with consistency. Are new screens using your design system components, or are people still hard coding styles? Then look at speed. Are developers shipping features faster because they don't have to reinvent the wheel every time? Check your maintenance overhead. Are visual bugs and UI regressions going down now that everything's standardized? And finally, track adoption. What percentage of your UI is actually using design system components versus legacy styles? That gives you a clear sense of progress over time. The goal isn't perfection on day one, it's steady progress toward a more consistent, maintainable code base. Let me share some common mistakes I see teams make. The first one is over engineering early components. Don't try to solve every possible use case upfront. Start simple and evolve as you go. Another big one is skipping accessibility. If you don't consider it from the start, it becomes way harder to fix later. Also, don't ignore dynamic type. Your component should scale with the user's text settings. That's table stakes for good UX on iOS. Watch out too many one-off variants, like a button with 5 slightly different paddings, that leads to chaos fast. And finally, make sure you're documenting usage patterns. If no one knows how to use your components correctly, they'll just go back to copy pasting styles. We have built a complete SwiftUI design system from the ground up. We started with design tokens that create consistency, built reusable components that scale with the app, and established architectural patterns that make your code maintainable. The hard part isn't building the system, it's sticking with it. But once you experience the joy of fixing a visual bug in one place and seeing it update everywhere, you'll never go back to the old way. If you want to master SwiftUI component architecture and build production ready apps, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. You'll get notified about new tutorials I am uploading daily. You can also check out the SwiftUI Mastery playlist for the complete journey from beginner to expert. Until next time, keep building amazing apps.